we'll go ahead and get started. As many of you know, I'm Kings, Ivan, owner of Carnage Gaming, and today I have MJ, owner of Heathens. I talk to him on a day-to-day basis. I've been on his podcast, but I think it's time for him to, jump on mine and give me some insight on Heathens for me and the community as well. All right, we'll go ahead and get started.
Dude, it's been an
So,
honor
you know,
actually to have you to be in your podcast. And like you said, we do talk on a day-to-day basis.
I mean, I think we've been communicating a little bit more. I really don't recall when it started, but I know that you had mentioned joining your podcast, and then it kind of got lost in the schedule, and then we ended up going back, and then when I joined, and Johnny joined, and Jeffrey joined, and it's just pretty much been talking ever since then, which is great, because I think up until then I wasn't really I had seen Heathens in some of the Call of Duty leagues, but I didn't really know like to the extent of what you were doing. And I think I kind of like was mentioning it earlier where I was looking at your Instagram and like you got something really good going there in regards to like the theme aspects. But like today, I just typically I want to get to know the organization, right? So typically people
Mhm.
ask you like, oh, who is MJ today? Like that's the eavesdrops catchphrase thing. But for me, it's just I want to know why Heathens, right? Like what sparked the interest, one in gaming, and two the name, right? Like it's a very unique branding, kind of Viking like. So I know you're going into more of like a darker, but at the same time like that war concept, which is really great. So kind of just give us some insight as to like what got you into gaming, and two, how did Heathens come up?
Uh, the way to World at War, was that it?
Yeah,
Right?
the
That was
the
World at
one
War
everybody
first.
hated, but then they love.
Yeah, because the zombies was fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
Love the zombie part. Um, I had no interest in Call of Duty before that. I didn't even know COD 4, like the OG Modern Warfare, was before that, until I went to my best friend's house in San Francisco, and he had an Xbox 360, and he was like, "Hey, you want to play a game?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not? Kill some time before we go hang out." And then he had World at War in, and I was like, "What game is that?" They're like, "It's Call of Duty." So I only knew CSGO. I only knew Counter Strike because I'm from the Philippines, so we had PC like stores or whatever, like gaming stuff. So we didn't have consoles to play with. So when I played it the first time, I actually fell in love the moment I touched the controller and I played zombies for the first time. And ever since then, I just kind of couldn't let go of Call of Duty. I had to buy the next game. I had to keep playing it, and then it really started in Modern Warfare 2, and it picked up in Black Ops 1. But sadly, Black Ops 1 was the last game I truly played because I went to college afterwards. And I just in the Philippines, the lack of internet is shit, bro. Like the the maximum speed we had in our apartment was like 5 Mbps.
Well, that's
That's
horrible. That's
that
bad.
that's maximum. And when I was playing, it was like 2 Mbps. So, and I was playing. I didn't know anything about the monitor screen. I was playing in a big ass TV, so I didn't know about the latency and the delay.
Yeah, I mean,
So I was
I think back then that was the mindset, right? Like the bigger the TV, the more enemies you see. but
like,
but we didn't realize that the bigger the TV, the less and slower you'll see the enemies.
yeah, I didn't know that. So I thought my dumbass was frying everybody. Um, so I started doing GBs in Black Ops 1, and that's just how the love of the game came about. It's just by chance of playing and watching my best friend play World at War. A month after that, I did the old Filipino finesse trick to my parents, and I was like, what do you want for Christmas? Ah, I saw this console. This consoles look nice and shit.
So like, I think you mentioned you guys didn't really have consoles. Is it because like they're not present within the Philippines, or it's just like rare for them to I guess
It's
to be
rare.
selling?
It's rare. They were
Lack of
selling.
import.
No, it's just expensive.
Oh.
The amount of, for one, the dollar to peso ratio was not it.
Mm.
You know, So if the PS back then it was still the PS2 for us, the PS2 was, let's say, $300. Over there, it's probably gonna be like 20,000 pesos, which is $100 more, or like sometimes $200 more because of import, and they still got to make some kind of money. So we just had like a PC. I don't know. It's like it looked like land
It's like a
basically.
PC center then, technically.
Yeah, there was like 30 PCs in there, and then I was just used to Counter Strike, some RPGs. I was playing NBA Live on PC. So the fact that I came here in the U.S. and everything was console based, it was kind of new for me.
And then that brings up a really good topic, right? Like where you guys have more access to like a PC center as opposed to like a console center, just because of the expenses. Do you think that that plays a really and you mentioned CS:GO, right? Do you think that plays a role onto why we have CS:GO being so popular and for throughout this time, right? Because like CS:GO was, I'm not people don't quote me on this, but I think CS:GO was like early 90s, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, I was born in the 90s, so for me it's
Mhm.
like CS:GO has been like the dinosaur of esports, and a lot of people
Mhm.
don't a lot of people don't give it the value that it deserves. But then at the same time, I know that the esports scene is very controversial. Back when we were having LANs, you'd have events like every 2 3 weeks. So I mean that after
Mhm.
a while, it's like people get annoyed of watching it. I mean, it's an amazing game, an amazing
It is.
strategy, but it's just
It is.
too much.
No, you're right. You're right though. You're right about um, CS:GO being global, having the name because of that reason alone. It's the same concept as why now Call of Duty is more prominent in the Asia region because of its what do you call it? It's crossplay. There's PC now, so they have
True.
access of playing it. I'm gonna tell you right now, when I when I went in college there from 2012 2016, no one fucking knew what Call of Duty was. No one knew what competitive COD was. Like, what the fuck is that? All I knew was like, yeah, we only play Counter Strike. We only play Dota. We only play
Hmm.
LOL. Like they didn't know what Call of Duty was until Warzone came about. Hell, they played Modern Warfare, but Warzone was really the one that put Call of Duty in the map overseas. I mean, UK differently, but with Asia, it's different. Like my cousin now loves playing Call of Duty. He's a big CS guy, but now he just plays Warzone. So,
And mobile too had a great impact.
oh, they did, they
I
did.
know that the mobile scene for esports in Asia was huge last year. I mean, the price pool was huge just in general for mobile, right? Compared to
Hmm.
some of the challengers, price pool that we got shitted with. But in regards to mobile, I know that mobile expanded a lot. The Asian market, and the Latin America market, and the South
Hmm.
America market. Um, and I think you bring up a great point where it's like sometimes players are good, but they're just not able to. The crossplay was like a huge barrier. Um,
Yeah,
you
big
know,
facts.
and then I think at the end of the day, that the being able to consume or purchase one of those consoles. I know that in right, at least right now within North America, we have a shortage of the PS5s and the Xboxes, right? Like we're just stuck not getting one. Luckily I got a PS5, but I'm a little annoyed I haven't gotten the Xbox. Not that I'm gonna play it, just annoyed that I don't have it. But like in Mexico, these guys are just buying Xboxes left and right, and I'm just like, wait, like like ship me one over, like, because for them it's easier right now to get, because I do think that plays another barrier too, right? Like maybe they do have limited quantities, but given the fact that people can't afford it, to them it's just like, oh, like limited
Hmm.
quantities, but it's still a lot because people can't really afford it. um,
Yeah.
and I think here in America, at least in our areas, I think consoles were always easier to access, but I think now with the transition to PC, which kind of brings up a next topic. I know you're still in Call of Duty. I've been very advocate about like not being in it, but I still
Hmm.
somehow find my way in it. I have a Call of Duty mobile roster, which since it's a new experience, still keeps me in Call of Duty. But like you being in Call of Duty, I know this year, just from conversations with you, conversations with Johnny, owner of Fluid, and conversations with just Jeffrey, owner of Zelo. Call of Duty is a mess. How do you, as an owner, feel about the transition to PC, and do you feel like it could have maybe, well, first off, how do you feel, and then we could get into it a little bit more.
I thought originally, honestly, when I first heard the rumors, I've also called it out in the beginning of Modern Warfare, where I was like, "There's no shot we're not moving to PC, making this game crossplay. There's no shot we're gonna stay in console next year, regardless of what the next gen is. We're gonna go to PC." And all my boys was like, "Nah, it's never gonna happen. It's we've also stayed in console for the entire time of Call of Duty. Competitive COD will never go PC." A few months later, that's when Activision announced, or Call of Duty announced, saying we're moving to PC. First, like my first initial reaction was like, "Fuck yeah, finally!" Right? Let's,
Finally,
you
like The
know,
Rock.
yeah, right? Because then it was like, I just got my PC that time. I know the experience of the FOVs, the frames, the difference it makes of like, oh shit, right? It's competitive COD is now gonna be fun to watch. I never said play. I said it's gonna be fun to watch.
I'm gonna get back to you on that, because that's another little topic that I kind of
Yeah.
want to discuss.
And then as the months go by, the days go by, when the game finally released, there was more. Oh my god, he's cheating. Oh my god, he's hacking. Dude, he's a cheater. He never was that good in Modern Warfare on a weekly basis. That's when I realized, I was like, they don't have an anti cheat. How how are you going to move a phenomenal, huge game to a platform with no anti cheat, knowing the fact that someone is going to cheat? Now you gave them a platform to cheat, because in console, the most you could have probably done was Cronus,
Hmm.
better aim. But this, you got walls, you got obvious fucking hacks, because they can access that. So right now, I feel disappointed in the game because the devs are not putting. They're doing all these updates. They're adding all these games. Season fucking 2 came out with no anti cheat. Brother, you are a multi-billion-dollar game. What? How come we're not reading this properly? I don't understand how you go to the office and not talk about it, or not push it, or not part of your top priority agenda. That's just my 2 cents on it.
Okay, yeah, and I mean, I personally have like a gaming laptop, but I have considered investing in a gaming PC. I just, one, I don't have the time. Honestly,
Hmm.
like it's just gonna gather dust. I got the laptop because, one, I can game, like Valorant, and the easy stuff here and there. And I do a lot of work. Like I write reports, and I take data, I do graphs, and I find myself that a regular laptop is just too slow. Like and this isn't like trying to flex or anything, but like my mind's working really really fast consistently. Like I got five six things to do at the same time, and if it's that little lag pisses me off. So when they did the transition to PC, for me it was amazing, right? And I think you brought up the point of like, oh, it's gonna be awesome to watch, right? And to
Hmm.
me it was, there's a lot of things that go into like PC gaming, right? You could pause the game, right? That was like one of their biggest selling points, right? But once I was like, okay, well, now they can pause it, right? And my thing is like, well, we have a franchise, right? So the franchise is good because it's gonna bring the outside viewers.
Hmm.
It's a PC, right? Parents are gonna say like, oh, well, if I'm investing this much in a PC, he's gonna take it seriously. At the same time, right? I think a PC has less of a stigma than a console, because if
Yeah,
you get a PC, your parents are like, you could sell it to your parents, and this is my thought process as if I was a child trying to get one. It's like, oh mom, like I could do my homework in it, right? And I can game on it, and you can use it for this, and you can use it for that, and we can
that's
print
how my
stuff,
brother
and
told us.
and I can learn graphic design, and I can learn video this, and it's amazing, right? That, to me as a parent, that'd be a selling point, as opposed to a console where it's like, well, you just got a PS4 right there. Why do you want a
Video games,
PS5?
yeah,
Like all you could do is just
yeah.
play. Um, Another thing, right? Like definitely accessible. You could build your own PC, right? Very budget
Hmm.
friendly. But then, like you said, it right. It started no anti cheat, which sucks, right? Because you're watching, you're enjoying the game, and even if you're not cheating, just because you outgun some other loser, boom, you're cheating, right? Just because
Hmm.
all of a sudden he can't get this good from one day to the other. You don't know that, right? Like you don't know if maybe the frames being better on
Makes a
his end
difference.
makes a difference for him,
Yeah,
right?
it
Maybe
does. Yeah.
you don't know if this kid was playing all month long, right? Like where's he gonna go? Right? He ain't going to school. He ain't going outside because we're stuck inside, right? But I think that's one of the my theory, or at least the way that I see it, as to why this year of Call of Duty, and even the last year was somewhat bad. I think mainly because of the game, but then mainly because of the league, right? I think it's just the transition to PC could have been great if one the
Hmm.
Call of Duty League would have been good, because that's one of the big factors, right? The leagues. I mean, I'll probably get canceled for this, but the league sucks. You know,
Hmm.
um, the first viewership of the games, right? These guys are like scrolling through the top and like showing you the angles, and it's like, dude, this isn't what we've been watching. This isn't Call of Duty.
Hmm.
It's a POV game, right? Um, but I think that's one of the components. Two, I think it's just the community, man. Like I think the community is just the Call of Duty community itself. They need to grow up, because a lot of times it's just false accusations that ruin someone's career, or that
Hmm.
ruin a league's reputation. And there's a lot of false accusations, and then there's a lot of legitimate accusations, but because people are writing that person so hard, that person doesn't go anywhere when that person is just doing some shady shit. And it's like, I think as a community we just need to change that mindset. But the transition to PC could have been smoother. I do think it's beneficial for the longevity of the game.
Hmm.
I just think I just think it's not the best, transition during these times. Just because I'm pretty sure that if they would have kept it on console, there would have been way more consoles.
Well, one thing that I could say about it is you're right. The community needs to grow the fuck up because it's hard to be in the community where it's like you said, one person can gun down a loser and as an automatic you're cheating, brother. He, he could have probably grinded 3 4 hours more than you did. You know, it the integrity of the whole entire game, the integrity of the whole community has been chalked ever since we got to the PC because of the accusations of cheating. Right, the biggest one that, well, at least in our community, the one that really blew up, at least in where my timeline was the 410 one. it
With the
was,
Toronto event, right? I think it was.
yeah, with Mohawk. Well, according to Mohawk, it wasn't him, but it was Mohawk accusing them cheating, and it's like I've actually personally watched these guys play in Modern Warfare, and they play the same way, if not better, in Cold War. I don't think they're cheating. You just got gunned down, and now you see in challengers non non-expected teams winning automatic cheating. They're not even gonna take a consideration that they just might be better that day. It was like when Zelos beat Mohawk and them, it was an automatic y'all cheating. like
and
just
I and that's good, and I think that brings up a good point too, because you mentioned it, right? Like maybe it's just their day, maybe it's just they woke up on the right side of the bed and you didn't.
yeah.
And that's true, right? I mean, I speak of it of experience, right? Modern Warfare, our season sucked, right? We were top 16, top 8, top 4 on a lucky day, and at champs they showed up, right? Um,
Hmm.
but and that kind of brings up another question, though. Do you think that players, who are not consistent, but then have one good day, do you believe that it's legitimate for them to grow such a high ego after that one placement,
Oh
or
fuck no.
or should it be more of like, hey, we got good, let's continue to grind. If we continue with the consistency, then we can start talking like maybe the salary, or maybe we can start talking the other benefits. But I mean, I've encountered it on a day-to-day basis where it's like, well, I got top 16 here and there. Okay, let me look at your placements. You didn't even break top 48 the rest of the year. What the hell are you talking about? But I reached the mountain once, and all of a sudden I'm at the top, right?
It's, dude. what makes an individual great is doing great things on a consistent basis. You can't be great by winning one thing. We consider. I mean, it's a very hurrah topic about Michael Jordan, LeBron, Kobe, whatever. We can talk. Would we ever say Michael Jordan is quote unquote the GOAT if he didn't win six by six? No. If he just won once, one time, he would not be in a conversation. It's the same concept as LeBron going to the finals 10 years in a row. He's only won 4 out of 10, but he's in the topic of greatest of all time because he was consistently bringing rosters into the fucking finals. So I don't care if you play T4 once. If that's the only time you did it, don't have an ego.
And
That one
yeah,
day, that one day, hey man, great job. You woke up on the right side of the bed. Everybody else shat. You know, you gun everybody down. Great job. Now let's see. Let me see you do it again next week, and the week after that, and the week after that, and for the entirety of the season. You can break top four once, and then maybe the rest of the year you can do top T8, T6, or whatever the case may be. Let's see it. But if you grow some balls the moment you grow T4 and then you start demanding salaries, you start egoing players, you start being an asshole in the community because you got T4, nah, you don't deserve that shit. You don't deserve that kind of fucking energy. Nah, bro. Like, put your head down, get back to it again next week.
I think you bring up the good point, right? The consistency, right? Because now we're seeing big names too, right? Where they're not breaking the top 32. We see big names who are jumping from roster to roster. And I personally have always never been one to tamper with my team's rosters, right? Because the way that I tell my players is I'm a nobody, to tell you who to play with or who to not play with, because you guys are the ones
Yes.
spending the time listening to each
Yes.
other. And if A is making B toxic and B doesn't want to be playing with A, because then if B doesn't play, C doesn't play, then if A is the problem, figure that shit out and change the problem, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
the roster. It's the same way with me. It's the same way with us as owners. You come in and tell us like, oh, this person is causing, negative attention to your brand. Get the fuck out of here. Easy as that, right? Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
straightforward. You're causing negative action. Get out. But I think that the consistency, right? And it brings up the topics, right? Of like Wester at the beginning. I think it was 4 in a row, if I'm not mistaken,
Yep. The first
and
four.
then boom, fell off the map, and so started winning more and more.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were consistent, right, back to backs. Then
Mm-hmm.
I think it was New York Subliners Academy, Wester, and I think UT Crew were winning some, right? So
Yeah.
you have the same teams consistently winning. The same teams are staying together up until recently when Wester just decided to blow up. But for the most part, consistency is key, right? And if players don't see that, if they think that just switching teams is going to make them better, and we'll kind of wrap up a little bit more of the Call of Duty talk, just because I definitely don't want this to take up the whole time. But
Mm-hmm.
are you as an owner, what is your mentality in regards to rosters, right? Do you think that consistency of a roster can eventually develop skill set, or are you one of those owners or one of those individuals who believe that if you put four individuals with raw skill, you will automatically have raw skill as a team?
I'm the former. I think if you put four individual raw players, doesn't make them great. It makes them great as an individual, right? Because no matter how you look at it, it's still a team-based game.
Yep.
You can have the best four 1v1s, but they're not going to win the goddamn game when everyone's rotating properly, when everyone's covering the middle, when everyone's covering spawns, when everyone's covering the corners, the callouts. I've witnessed individual greatness in one team, and they just can't get any fucking points because they're getting gunned down. The other team may be going negative, but they still won the game. And what's the objective of the whole game? To win. It doesn't matter what KDR you have. If you lose, you lose. An L is an L.
True.
With the roster staying together, my roster, well now my former roster stayed together for 7 months. They were together since last May and last June. So they played all through the worst shit ever. right? They took the L's, they took the W's, they placed T64 twice together, and that made the whole journey sweeter. Like what my captain said, the L's make the W's sweeter, always, right? And if you just stay together, and because there's gonna be a time where change has to happen, that's inevitable. Something has to change, but it doesn't mean you can't give it a fucking try. The what the mortality rate for the roster now is like 2 weeks, maybe less. You
Yeah.
can't. They can't even get three full scrims in before they chalk it. Nope, we're not vibing. Nope, we're not doing it. Nope, the other player. Nope, we're not vibing. It's like, brother, it's literally three scrims. Like you gotta get through all of it. How would you know?
You know, if you
How the
get through,
hell would you know?
you get through the difficult times, you pretty much are unstoppable, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I personally do believe that longevity of a roster could develop skill.
Mm-hmm.
You do have very, very rare occasions where
Mm-hmm.
four talented individuals will make a super team, but there's other components that go into it, right? Is mentality, maturity,
Yeah.
hunger, right? Egos, right? And all those components definitely play a role into it, which kind of like is a good transition for us to, because I know you're into Valorant as well. So what is it as an owner? Valorant obviously is growing. It's gonna grow eventually. Hopefully once LANs start, being accessible for Riot to host and for people to
Mm-hmm.
attend. What is the difference in your attack as an owner for when you enter Call of Duty and now that you enter Valorant, which is a title that if addressed accordingly could create some really good content because it's very colorful, it's
Mm-hmm.
very fun to watch, right? Call of Duty is very straightforward. It's either you're sniping the crap out of somebody or you're turning on someone, or
Yeah.
you're going 1v4, right?
Yeah.
Those are the typical ones. But like with Valorant, the room for content and just the room for growth as a competitive player is pretty high. Like how did you attack Valorant as an owner?
It was more. It was more methodical than Call of Duty for sure. Because now I have to figure out, for one, being it a new game, I had to figure out the esport itself. How is the esport played? What's the game mode? How do we win or lose games? How are the teams played? What are the I guess what this is legends, but what are the characters? What are their like I guess abilities and skills? How does the team play work, right? And as I learned it, as I watched, and I got in tune to the whole economy of Valorant, that's when I started to figure out, okay, we're gonna do this, do that. The way I tackled it in the beginning was very kind of, I guess, conservative. I didn't want to put in too much money in it, especially. I mean, I'm glad that my roster didn't really ask for it, but it was more on. I didn't want to do leagues and tournaments left and right because I didn't know the fucking game. Like, I'm not gonna go into something I don't know until they started to prove themselves. Until I saw how fun the game, how fun it is to watch the game, how fun it is to play the game. I was like, okay, well, this is gonna be worth the investment long run. I wouldn't mind doing this for LAN. I believe the crowd and the audience will actually like watching this in the long run. A 1v4 in Valorant is far more impressive than a 1v4 in COD.
Yeah.
100%. Because if you have, I know for a fact, one or two characters in Valorant, you can heal. But in Call of Duty, you have a you can self res, not self res, self heal, as long as you don't you don't get gunned down by 2 3 people, whatever the case. But in Valorant, I watched my player had 22 health and he still did a 1v4, and that was impressive as hell because he was literally one bullet left. And
Yeah,
the
definitely.
crosshair is fucking ridiculously difficult in Valorant. Holy crap, my centering is horrible. You gotta have proper crosshairs and shit. It's like it's a very skilled like team. You have to be both. At this point in Valorant, you have to be skilled as an individual and skilled as a teammate. In Call of Duty, to be honest with you, it's kind of one or the other. It's rare to find that individual who can do both,
It,
who's
it,
really good, but at
yeah,
the same time a team player.
it's rare to find that like that. I guess it's rare to find that hunger in Call of Duty, right? Because a lot of names are just established and they think that they can ride that, that wave. A lot of people, are not established and they're hungry to get their name. And then once their name is just, mentioned three, four, five times, they're like, oh, okay, I'm cool. But I think Valorant is a very good title to be getting into. I mean, I've been scouting, I've been looking into it. I'm a huge fan of the Latin America community in South America, so you're not gonna see me in North America. Um, but for the most part, it looks like it's a prospering title, right? You got big names
It
going
is.
into it. I think it's just being held on the end of the lands. I think that's playing a huge role into it, which kind of like brings back,
Hmm.
brings us to you discussing about you, right? You do photography, right? So like, is have had you been doing photography like for lands if you've attended lands before this, or is that something that you still haven't gotten to experience, right? Like going into an event and taking pictures.
I have not gone to a line at all. When I started Heathens and started this journey back in May, I had I knew what LAN was because, of course, I was watching Call of Duty and the CWL was just a bunch of opens. But I've always wanted to experience it. It just never was in my area. I don't think there was ever a LAN in NorCal. Everything was SoCal. The Anaheim.
We're the cool kids.
Um, yeah, we just don't have one here. I don't fucking understand. Like no one comes up here. Maybe because there's really the lack of venues and the lack of
I was about to say, do you
audience.
have big venues? I don't. I mean, from off the top of my head, I don't. You New Orleans because of the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Like
Hmm.
Anaheim because of the Anaheim Convention Center and the Anaheim, the Angel Stadium. Like those names pop out, but like I mean, you guys have Giants, right? The Giants Stadium.
Yeah,
Technically,
we have that. We have the Chase Center. If Andy Miller, an owner of the Sacramento Kings, would be open to using his stadium, the Golden One, Golden Credit Union, Golden One, whatever, we could do that. But just no one comes
and
here.
and you guys have really strong teams, right? San Francisco Shock is just untouchable in Overwatch.
Hmm.
Um, you
That's really
guys,
it
they have a 2K team, right? Yeah, the Sacramento
for
Kings
NRG.
have no, the Sacramento
Oh, it's the
Kings have
Sacramento King. Yeah,
a 2K they have a 2K team for
yeah. So is the Warriors.
um
The Warriors 2K was like I think a back-to-back champ.
yeah, and
I'm not
you
sure.
guys have the Warriors. So I mean, yeah, in a way you don't really have like I mean, I guess if you put NorCal against SoCal just wins. We're fans of two of everything, right?
Hmm.
Two baseball teams, two basketball teams, two esports teams, right? We're
Hmm.
just we hog all the teams. But and that's that's another thing, right? That kind of continues the conversation of we were having earlier in regards to like wanting salary and stuff like this. I've noticed that recently. It's kind of like at the early appearance of COVID that a lot of players had this. Some are worth it. I'm not gonna deny. I mean, I pay. I mean, like 90% of Carnage is on salary, right? So I can't really be saying that people don't deserve salary. But I think at the end of the day, I started seeing this like, well, if you're not gonna pay for a land, maybe you should give us a salary. Um, no, dummy, because if I'm paying for a land on a team that is maybe gonna get top 32 or top 24, right? If I'm lucky, a top 16. If I'm paying for them, whether your ass wins or not, I still get content. I still get pictures. I still get my jersey flashed. I still get people seeing like, damn, those Carnage jerseys are nice. Damn, that's the
Hmm.
owner of Carnage. Look at that. They're all the owners here supporting. You get that exposure. Me paying your ass a salary to sit at home and just stream and get 5 viewers, that's not exposure, right? But I started
Hmm.
seeing that trend where it's like you had some people who were nobodies hitting you up like, oh, can I get a salary? Like, why? Oh, it's because there's no land, so you're not spending anything. Okay, so if I'm not spending my money, I should just give it to you. Like that's the mentality. Like, did you get that experience when you began, right, May last year, right? So when
Hmm.
you began, obviously you got the COVID act? Did you started experiencing that where it's like everybody wanted a salary?
I never got it until September, because that's when Heathens actually just kind of blew off a little bit. August, September is where like they people started to realize, or they started hearing our name because of the hype that the roster brought in. But before that, no one really hit us up. But at that point, everyone was like, "Yeah, yeah. I mean, my team is this. sometimes they throw in like, yeah, we're a projected T32 team. It's like, mother, what? How? What
You're
are you?
projected until your ass gets it. You're not. We're not talking, right? It's like
We're
I'm
not.
projected to live to 50. I haven't lived to 50. You know.
It just was of those things where like they claim, oh, they start. I get it. Our resume is meant for to be put whatever's in the past. So they like, this was my placing in Modern Warfare, this and that. But to me, that's not how it works in this game, in this community, in this esport. No matter what your past placing is, it doesn't translate to this year. It doesn't, because it's a new game. It's
Yeah.
not like it's not like Call of Duty stayed the same exact way every year. We went through boots in the ground, we went through jetpacks, when the slide came about, all these new things came about. That means more individuals are coming in and learning the game. The person who's a rookie could deserve a salary because they're way better than you, who plays T32 twice in Modern Warfare, or you were T4 twice in, or whatever the case, in Modern Warfare, but you're shit in Cold War. So why would I give you salary?
I mean
You know?
that brings up an interesting conversation because I mean it's very delicate in the sense that you did bring up the resume, right, and a resume does portray who you are professionally
Mm-hmm.
and what you're capable of. But you hit the nail on the head, right? Call of Duty is it's a constant change, right? It's an inevitable change.
Yeah.
Every year we're gonna get a new one. You could
Mm-hmm.
suck at one, you could be good at the other, right? And I'm not saying that. And this isn't me bringing up like that shit, right? Like I'm not bringing him up because like I thought he sucked at Modern Warfare, but he had an epic Black Ops 4 year. Like this
Oh
kid
yeah.
was destructive, right? Like no one
Yeah.
could touch it. Modern Warfare, he was
Where,
benched,
where was
right?
yeah, where was
But
Dashi at?
but there was no passion, there was no commitment on his end. He wasn't happy, right? And like
Mm-hmm.
all those play a factor, right? Could the kid he have been nasty? We don't know, right? We didn't see much. He subbed one game in and sat back down and went to sleep. Um,
Yo, that sub game was intangible. That shit was nasty. This dude woke up, destroyed the game, went back to sleep. Like, all right,
yeah,
call me next year.
and then now he's back where he wants to be. He's happy and he's doing pretty good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Optic is doing pretty good. But at the end of the day, it does that's true, right? Like your resume doesn't automatically make you great in a consecutive
No.
year, because there's a lot of factors, and also too, you're growing as an individual, and people don't know that you have to dedicate everything to it. So if you're going through a hard time because you're broke up with your girlfriend and I'm paying you a salary, I'm not trying to be that insensitive person, but like your personal problem has to be put out aside when you're competing, right? Personal should
Mm-hmm.
not affect business, just like for us, right? If I have some personal aspect of against a player, that shouldn't play a role into if I'm signing him or not. If he's gonna bring exposure to the organization, sometimes you got to put personal aside and sign the individual.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's where people lack, right? And it kind of helps us get into this conversation of as an owner, right? As an owner, what is it that you consistently seek in individuals, right? Because we have this conversation. I've had it in probably every podcast that I've been in, where you get the messages, I'm cracked, this is my year, I'm nasty, you need to sign me. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, I mean, it's dumb. Like that immediately just puts me aside, right? And I have this personal decision that sometimes I have to address these messages, not the ones that I'm cracked. Those I just delete. There's no point. But if someone sends me a decent message, even if I'm not gonna sign the individual, I just respond like, "Hey, thank you for the interest. I'm sorry, we're not really looking into Call of Duty right now. Good luck."
Mm-hmm.
But those I'm cracked, it's just annoying. Like, what would you advise a player to be the first thing that they need to do when they're messaging an organization?
For one, introduce yourself. Like, you don't walk into an office and like, hey, I'm the best you could have in this game, in this position. I can bring this. Like, excuse me, who are you? What, hello? You know, introduce yourself. And the one thing that you ask, what I look for in an individual is just, are you curious and hungry enough to learn? I don't care how great you are, but are you coachable? Are
Mm,
you are you
coachable.
someone who's a team player, right? You can't. A lot of these kids compare themselves too many times with the likes of Scump and the people up there in the pros. Well, I play like Scump. Well, I play like Clayster. No, you don't. No, you
Because you're
don't.
not there.
These kids are, some of them are great. Don't get me wrong, but are you coachable enough where I can step in and guide you? Are you coachable enough where my management team can talk to you without you being, without you being sensitive and getting hurt, or like, oh, they're singling me out, or they keep talking to me? Like, no, motherfucker, we're just talking. Okay, what you're doing on the timeline doesn't look good, for one, for yourself and for your image and for your brand, and reflects on us. What are you gonna do about it? This is the steps that we need to take in order for us to make it better. But if you're gonna be that one, is like, no, I know what I'm doing. I'm the best. It's like you're close minded. You know, that's one thing that I look forward. Like, I look to in the message, right? When they say I want to be a streamer for your org, I tell them the process of what we go through. I'm not gonna automatically bring you in. Like, this is the process that we go through as a team, as an org. How are you gonna respond to that? I wait for the response. You, I, and a lot of experience, not experience, but like, I guess common sense owners. It's like we don't jump the gun. We read the play. We gotta make sure we know what we're doing, what we're getting ourselves into. We're getting to know the individual at a more personal level, because the surface level is like, I'm a crack kid, I'm a good player, I'm this, I'm that. Here's my resume. Okay, now my question is, who are you? Because I don't, at the end of the day, if we go to lands and you're not a personable person, like you're actually an asshole in real life. I don't know. I don't know about that. Like, I don't know if I should take that chance of bringing you in if you're just gonna be like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, people skills. I mean, you just can't be a jerk. I mean, I'm a little toxic, but no, that's a different thing. To me, it's just I think the best part that that we both can agree on is the presentation, right? I don't even
Mm-hmm.
know you, um, and that's kind of like how I go, right? And maybe this is the same way that you approach partnerships and sponsorships and just
Mm-hmm.
um, an affiliation is good here and there. I think there's a lot of negativity on it. A lot of people think that if you take an affiliation, you're not you're not worth the high end sponsorships and partnerships because you're just everybody could get an affiliation. That's true. Everybody could get an affiliation. Everybody could get $1,000 too, but someone can spend them like an idiot, and another person can make a business out of it, right? So it's
Facts.
not necessarily everybody could get an affiliation. It's yeah, everybody could get an affiliation, but I could do something with an affiliation. I can transition from that to a partnership to a sponsorship, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, affiliating yourself with someone that you want to help grow and you actually enjoy the product, right? Don't just get an affiliate
Mm-hmm.
just to get it. But that's another conversation, perhaps for another time. But I think when I approach sponsorships, partnerships, I think the best feedback that I've gotten is from the managers where my initial email is me introducing myself, me introducing my organization, explaining where I can help grow and what I can help do. But then at the same time, I never finish it with you need to give me this, you need to give me that. I always finish it with give me an opportunity to prove myself. If I'm not worth your time, if I'm not worth your representation, then kick me out. I'm not gonna fight you on it. If you tell me I need you to meet this deadline and you can't meet it and I don't meet it and you kick me, I'm not gonna take it personal because I didn't stay up to the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of, and that's where a lot of organizations go wrong, right? I've talked to several individuals who are just like, oh well, they need to give me this. They don't need to give you shit. Like they don't.
Mm-hmm.
No sponsorship, no partnership needs to give you anything. They can allow you the opportunity to represent the brand, but they shouldn't give you anything. Just like an organization, no organization is going to give you anything. They can allow you the opportunity, but shouldn't really give you anything. No one in this life is entitled to give you anything. Which kind of like brings up my next topic, right? I recently saw you left your apparel company, and I've talked to you. I know you're huge on apparel. I know your vision is one that I admire. You're heavy into the content. You're heavy into the apparel. Esports competitively is not your 100% mentality, right? Like you're strong in it,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not your bread and butter. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that here at Carnage we're transitioning to, right? We started strong, very strong in the competitive scene. I don't care what people say. And this isn't boasting an ego, but we had really good 2 years. And now we're doing the transition to tackle like content and tackle the apparel. Um, for apparel, and we'll get into why if you're open to sharing as to why you left Innovated Gear. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're looking for apparel as an organization, what is it that you're expecting from an apparel company? Because we have these people that just go in like, well, they need to give me everything for free.
Well, honestly, it's when I looked. Well, I can from experience, like when I was looking for an apparel company, it was more on one, the design, the style. Do they meet the expectation of how I envision Heathens to look like? Second, how fast and how communicative is the owner?
Mm-hmm.
In our community, some of these I guess apparel companies are not that big enough to ego someone or to not respond in a matter of time. Third is the deliverability. I guess I don't know if that's even a word, but like how
Yeah.
fast can the item be delivered? Right. Uh, when I first joined Innovated, I was approached by an individual, and at that point, we were young. I was young into the scene. I was young into all this ownership shit. So, of course, everything sounded fucking great to me, right? Any pitch he would give me, I was like, that shit, that's tight.
So somebody
This,
wants me. I
yeah,
must be
I was
good.
like, oh fuck, yeah, yeah, like shit,
It's like that ugly
They
bro.
approach
Is
me.
like that. Is like that ugly person that turns beautiful all of a sudden. And people are like, oh, like the attention. Sometimes that there's a concept in psychology
Mm-hmm.
where it's like until you start being where you know in few words is when you start experiencing the attention gets you this attention high, and it clouds your
Yes,
judgment, and it clouds your ability to process, and it kind
yes,
of goes like it plays a lot of role in human life, right? When someone isn't confident about the way that they look, and they're portrayed
mm-hmm.
by the society as an ugly individual, and then they transition and they feel confident about themselves, lose weight, new hair, whatever it is that they do. And society gets this shift of like, oh, that person's good looking. That
Mm-hmm.
sometimes clouds the individual's judgment, and it being wanted we're human, right? We all want to be wanted, so to speak.
Yeah, that's actually how I felt like in the whole process of like, oh shit, they hit me up. I clicked their Twitter, and of course, like at that time, as a new person in the scene, I was never in the Twitter game like
Mm.
that. So when I was like, oh shit, they got like 1,000 plus followers, and I was like, oh fuck, like, you know, clicked their stores and I saw all this shit. I was like, yeah, bet, let's do it. And I talked to the owners, and they were very responsive. Till to this day, they're responsive as hell. And when I finally got into the partnership or whatever, we designed our first line, which is the 2020, the black one, the black line. We had everything black, the black shirt, the black pro shirt, the pro jersey, pro hoodie, pro whatever. Um, you know, you'd think that when you order something, you get it in a considerable amount of time, right? And I ordered, it was a bulk order, so I kind of understand that part. In August, and I don't think we didn't get it till October, right? And it still wasn't like it still wasn't perfect. They got to fix it, but at that time, at that point, it's like, well,
It's
it's been
lost. Right.
it's been a couple months. Like I kind of lost interest in the whole thing. My players lost interest in even getting one. We were all excited when we first saw it. We were like, oh fuck, Heaton's got a pro jersey. That's dope. We don't get to wear it till we got into Modern Warfare season. We didn't get to wear it till Cold War. So at that point, and it's like,
Interest is lost. I think that's the
yeah,
best thing you could say. Like, well, I mean, you've said it, and you know
yeah,
that's what I get from
yeah.
it.
That's same thing with the 2020 line, 2021 when we design a new one. I'm like, yo, let's design a new one. The game is out. We have we have a bigger community now that we can actually show out our line. So we did, and I guess delays happen when weather happened, and our orders, my orders got delayed, my players' orders got delayed, like long delayed, and once again lost interest. And at that point, I'm like, I've already had the mindset of, I guess, having it in house,
Mm.
where we start to design ourselves, we start to look for local manufacturers, or we start doing the process ourselves. That way, it's I can't blame anybody.
But
That's
yourself
one
if
that
it fails, right?
that's one thing that I always tell myself. Like, if I don't rely on you, I can't blame you. I can't. My players can't blame you, right? If I tell my players like, hey, I'm designing the pro jerseys, I got things ready, and they order, and I don't deliver, it's my fault, not the manufacturer's fault. It's my fault. I don't want to shift the blame and make people responsible for something that I could have handled myself. Right? When looking into an apparel company, it's really that, man. Like, how well is it a very well rounded place? Like a very well rounded. Like, are they gonna? Is the design good? Is the pricing good? Is it doable for both ends? And how fast can it get to your doorstep? Because in reality, if my mom said it herself, because she got my brother one for Black Friday, and it hasn't you know arrived yet.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, imagine if our friends and family were to buy your merch, they would be furious for not having it till now,
Yeah. I mean,
right?
and
And that's
the family thing that you bring up is just true because you never really think about it. You never like, oh, we're always thinking gamers can wait, but just true. Your everyday consumer
yeah,
shouldn't be able to wait.
as a when you we I get pissed when I don't get my Amazon in like a week.
I was about to say, right, like you order food and it takes longer than 30 minutes. What to
Yeah,
expect?
I'm like,
You're a little triggered.
at that point, like the high of the interest of the brand that you're buying into is gone. They're not gonna want to fucking support you because it took goddamn this long to get your shit. Right?
True.
It's nothing against the owners, it's nothing against the thing. It's just like long term, we want to get into this apparel industry. I can't have that. Like, I can't have my friends and family ordering, and they at that point they're gonna lose interest, and they're like, yeah, we're not buying anymore. That shit took long. Like, oh,
Yeah.
that's lost.
I mean, and those are three key factors, right? The design wise, I don't know if this is obviously every owner has a vision for a design of their jersey that they
Hmm.
they express to the artist, and the artist does it, or sometimes the owners are talented enough to do the art themselves. I personally, a lot as for the brand Carnage and Fluid, right? I mean, they're like they're family, right? I do pretty much their designs as well. I don't do them in the aspect of creating it on Adobe, or doing all this crazy stuff with the GFX, because that's not it's not a skill I have mastered yet. But I draw them, right. I have a vision in my mind, and I send a drawing with colors and labels and everything to my artist who I trust, right. I've only had two artists work on jerseys, right. And those are the people I trust. I send the design to them, and if that design is not exactly what I see on my head, I don't approve it. I don't care if the and if the apparel provider's like, oh well, some of them do it for free. I haven't worked with that, where they do the free design, because I believe that people's time should be compensated. So I pay my artist. Um, but a lot of orgs just say like, oh, it's a free design, and then the organization that's doing it, the apparel one, they say, well, it's free. Why are you complaining? But at the same time, it's like, just because it's free, they're giving it to you for free. You didn't ask for it unless you did, and if you expect it to be free, don't expect good quality.
Hmm.
Um, but the
Hmm.
designs is the first thing, right? If they're not able to capture what's in your mind, then maybe it's not them, right? Delivery. I think that's a huge thing. Um, I think I've only ordered one order during COVID, and I was reluctant to do it just because I
Hmm.
didn't want that to happen, right? Getting lost. I mean, I ordered a giveaway for a Paladins streamer that did one, and that it got held by customs at Brazil. Uh, I guess the receiver didn't want to pay the fee to accept it. I'm like, I mean, if you don't want to pay the fee, that's on you, right? That's not on me. Um, But I already placed one order, and during this time, I'm very reluctant on placing orders just because of that, right? I don't want bad experiences. I'm not saying that Acquire has bad experiences with delivery, but they can send a package and they could do everything right, but then maybe the customs is holding it off, or it gets lost in
Mm-hmm.
transit because U.S. Postal Service, UPS, DHL, FedEx, everybody's being overworked right now during these times. I don't want that bad experience to taint the image of Carnage and their apparel.
Exactly.
And I
Yep.
think that's what a lot of apparel companies don't take into consideration is that, hey, you gotta realize that we have deadlines to meet. We have an image to make, and if people are not getting our products within 2 to 3 weeks, which is reasonable time, something's going on, right? Month, 2 months, that's not okay. There's a lot of companies out there for apparel that do that, where they don't take into consideration the image that people are getting, because for them it's maybe like, I'm not here for the long run. Maybe I'm here just to make quick $1 in a year or two, and then organization will cease to exist.
Mm-hmm.
um but I mean, in regards to like your in-home apparel, though, like you're saying to do it in-house and finding somebody to do it, do you feel like that might be more of a more expensive experience on your end than it is to find one of these manufacturers?
It's I have yet to try it out. I have to, because in reality, right, when you go to these apparel companies, they give you a package, whether it be $50 to $20, and you get a certain amount of things. And then, of course, like you said, the design comes for free, and you do work with the designer from their company, and you just kind of go through it, and that's it, right? You can just order from them whenever the hell you want. Um, it will at some point going to be expensive, but then it's going to be at a level where it's like, okay, for now, it's more feasible. It's more feasible for my players. I'd rather have an in-house, like a very basic apparel, or like a black Heathens shirt with sizes in my closet. So if we bring a streamer in, or we want to promote, or we have giveaways, I can just have it in my closet and ship it out, rather than waiting an absurd amount of, like, waiting for quite some time to get this stuff. I'd rather have it in my closet. It's gonna be expensive up front, but if I have it on me, then it's gonna be different.
That's actually a really good idea, right? With the jerseys, like having them in here, kind of like the 100 Thieves has their little walk-in, and there's a apparel right there, and then you just go get it. That's actually really good. In regards to the whole apparel thing, like I know your vision is very strong on apparel, right? 100 Thieves is just crushing it because of the way that they do it. Limited
Mm-hmm.
drops and stuff like that. In regards to the apparel, do you consider it a 50-50 split between competitive and apparel, or is it maybe like, obviously content goes somewhere into that?
Mm-hmm.
To you, what's, and I've spoken to my staff about the hierarchy that we're going to be doing this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're getting ready to do, I don't want to say it a cleanse, but we're looking to do you know a restructuring, right? Because our and my mentality, going into 2021, the remainder of it, and 2022, my mentality is content, apparel, esports, right? Esports is just going to be a
Mm-hmm.
hobby. And if people, lose interest in the organization because we're not consistently competing, then that's their decision. But we're upping our apparel game and we're upping our content game. But and esports is, one of those hobbies. If I give you those three, and we're kind of getting ready to wrap it up. If I give you those three, how would you establish a hierarchy? And can you give me a little bit of reasoning as to why they're chosen in the position that they're chosen?
It's actually the same way as yours. Content, apparel, esports. Only because in I can't compare to yours. Carnage is different because Carnage has a greater following, a bigger goal. You guys have pro teams, and so your esport can be in the back end. But for us, the only reason why it's in the third level, it's only because I'm still learning the game of esports, right? And transitioning into different esports itself. I only have a Call of Duty, at least team based. I only have Call of Duty Valorant, right? We spoke about Halo. Gears of War. Once I start diving into those esports, then it could be more upfront. But right now, the only thing we have is Call of Duty that's very active. Even then, it's not that active as of today. So the only thing we can do is content, right? Content and the fact that a good amount of players are literally 45 minutes away from me, we can create content together in real life. So it's not going to be as hard as waiting for a league game to play, waiting for challengers for the weekend. We can have the content on a daily day basis. And apparel, like you said, is this, could it be esport, could it be apparel? It could be both, right? It could have two lines or whatever the case. But that's going to be a fun project to dive in. It could blow off, it could not. It's worth the shot.
It is.
Um, like you said, 100 Thieves, Christian, the whole thing, and I believe they started as an apparel company, but
They just got into esports
when
because Nate.
because of Nashot, he couldn't not let go of not being in esports, but he they not perfected, but they definitely started the wave of integrating apparel and esport together.
Yeah.
Because now you see, I believe that was Liquid, who had a collaboration with Naruto,
Oh, but
and
Liquid's
then
been
you,
crushing it with those collaborations. But yeah,
but then
they're upping it. Yeah.
right, but because of Nate Shot and 100 Thieves' popularity, that was more in the forefront for us, rather than
Yeah.
because then a lot of TSM is a his, historic organization. They're fucking seasoned, man. Like no one touching those orgs up top is not getting touched.
I think
The
TSM's the
TSM,
highest
yeah,
highest valued organization.
yeah,
I did the
TSM.
quotes on the value because everybody questions the values.
Of course, it's different. Everyone has their own perspective of monetary value. But TSM, the Liquids, the G2 Esport, like they had those where the followers are in the millions. That that's different. They're in their own little fucking league, and then we are here where we are. Yeah, it's content. I think content's fun, content, apparel, and then yeah, esports. And I think eventually we're gonna. I still think at this moment where esport is our forefront, like as we're talking, is esport content and apparel. But it might shift around April because I'm gonna be out more. So you'll see how that goes on it.
Yeah, I mean, and my mentality, my reasoning for the shift, is because there's a lot of things, right? Esports is amazing, but like you said, it's something that we're consistently learning and we're consistently growing in, right? It's not an established routine, it's not an established route, right, to success, but it's there, right? I've just been blessed to have partnerships with amazing apparel companies, and I want to take the advantage of those and grow that out. I also want to start establishing content, right? And not only brand content, but also my content, right? Because I've recently noticed that I post my tweets here and there to talking smack or doing something, but I've noticed that I have somewhat of a following, and I want to dig deeper into the sense of creating a brand that is aligned with my brand, because I'm not going anywhere, right? And I'm a huge advocate of jumping from organization to organization. I consistently shit on individuals who do that, who join an organization 3 weeks go into another one. To me, that's just disrespect to the brand, because if you're not, so see, joining a brand is not going to be immediate success if you're not
Yeah.
willing to stay with them through the lows, or even stay with them through the moments that they're grinding. You're not loyal. You're just looking for the name, or you're just looking for the
hmm
paycheck. And nothing wrong if that's what you're looking for. Just don't go around and say, oh, I love this organization, I love this organization, because your ass does not love that organization. You just love the paycheck or the name, right? And I've gotten this conversation too, right? I've gotten a lot of times where people say, well, why don't you put CG in front of your name? I don't need to. If you think of Ivan and you think of any other organization, then you're not thinking of the right Ivan, because I don't go to
Oh.
any other organization. I may work with Fluid, I may work with, I may be an owner, I may be the owner of No Mercy, but every single time it's always been Carnage. So for me, it's
hmm
like people say, oh, well, you don't put it because you don't love your org, or you don't even have it in your bio, or sometimes like that. And it's like, I don't need to, because if you think of
Thank
my
you.
name, because if you think of my name and you think of any other organization, you got the wrong Ivan or you're on some good one. Because
Hmm.
there is no Carnage, and I'm not saying I'm the only reason that there is, but there's no Carnage without an Ivan. There's no Ivan without a Carnage. It's just like that, and
That's actually it. I mean, just to kind of piggyback on that. Sorry to interrupt you,
yeah.
but that's why I don't have Heathens under my bio. You know, I don't need to. I have it on my banner, yeah, but then who looks at that? But I don't have it because someone said like, "Oh, I didn't know you were the owner of Heathens." Well, fucking great. I don't need you to know who I am as of this moment, but now you know who I am. Now you know that I'm not just the owner. I'm actually a fucking person. Thank you very much. You know. But yeah, I mean, you're right, man. Like, you hit the nail on the head on that one.
Yeah, and I had the conversation because at first I didn't have it in my bio, I didn't have it in my name, and everybody would constantly say that like as a somewhat of a joke and be like, oh, he doesn't even have it in his name. In my name, I don't need to have it. I've added it in my bio because I stepped in as an interim for Fluid, and that's definitely some great information to people have because I would negotiate with teams with them, and a lot of times people would say like, "Well, you're not for Fluid. Why are you talking to us?" And so I had to do that just for courtesy's sake of Fluid and kind of some respect to them as well. But yeah, I mean, I don't think people need to have it, and like a lot of times they people put it in front of the name and then it's like, oh well, and I understand that it brings more publicity because if you type a G on Twitter, automatically if you have like the G in front of your name, it'll show up. Um, but yeah, I mean that's kind of like my little rant on that. But in regards to content lives forever. Apparel,
Yes.
apparel. My thought process behind it is because I want to reach out to the everyday consumer, right? Because if I don't
Hmm.
go heavy on apparel, like you mentioned, a regular jersey or a regular hoodie, and if I'm just doing jerseys, the only people are gonna buy them are gamers, and I
Esports.
and
Yep.
and gamers ain't the big spenders. Their asses will
They're
not buy
broke as
something,
fuck.
right? They're broke or they're stingy. But
Yeah.
yet they're always tweeting, "I'm eating KiiNgz, I'm eating Chipotle, I'm eating this," but your asses won't support the organizations. Um, but yeah, I'm trying to target the everyday consumer. Esports, just because I like to compete, but at the end of the day, I'm not gonna make it my focus. It might not even be 30% of Carnage's focus moving forward because it's just not. I love it, but there's a lot of times where just people are not very grateful for what you do for them, and that's just to me. It's like I'd rather just cement my mark somewhere else. But
Hmm.
we're getting to an end. We're getting ready to wrap things up. Amazing thing with Heathens. I consistently love what you're doing with the social medias. I love the process behind your apparel. And for many of the fans that probably haven't really dug deep into Heathens, like you know some finishing words. What to expect from Heathens, and at the same time, kind of like what is Heathen's mission statement in regards to just interacting with the community and supporting the players.
What to expect from us? Honestly, it's more content. That's one thing that I can closely guarantee is more content. Only because it's one thing that, like you said, it's forever. And if no one's following what Hex said about that, they're losing out. If everyone out here, if everyone of the new org owners thinking that they're gonna make it out just by esport alone, how do you just really think about it? How do we know about Optic? Because they were on YouTube. They've been on YouTube. That's why we know Optic. That's why they have the following they have is because of their content. Is they were we stuck with them through their L's because we were watching their L's. They they brought us with them with their content wise. So that's one thing for content wise for us. And I'm interested. Honestly, man, it's bringing a community of unlike individuals who don't feel home or safe somewhere else, but they can find one in with us. They can be with us. They can be themselves with us. It's we always we have a group chat where like it's just all balls to the walls. Like we just talk. Like we don't. There's lack of in outside world. Yeah, we gotta show professionalism at all times.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
I think we both agree on that, where we have to show professionalism at its
at
time,
all
but you
times.
can also be some very toxic, and I think that's why we get along very well because, um, you know, sometimes I see your tweets, and then I'm just like, oh, like, you know, that's something I would say, and stuff like that is what keeps is just what keeps us active, right?
Yeah.
I think I've expressed it with you, and if it wasn't directly, but I think I've expressed it where at some point I kept everything very professional. And to a point, I just got to a point where I just said, you know what, fuck it, because people really don't give a shit. Like, I still get egoed, you know, and then it's like, not saying I deserve everything, but it's like, I mean, I'm looking at some organizations and I'm like, who the fuck are they or what have they done? But then it's like, they don't get egoed. So, you know, sometimes toxicity is needed to generate some attention because people just, if you're the nice guy, they ain't gonna pay attention. Nice guys finish last, you know?
That's why I said on the last one. I'm like, man, sometimes being the nice guy ain't it, bro. Like it
Mm-hmm.
just sometimes you just gotta fucking whack him in the goddamn neck or something. I don't know.
That's good. I mean, definitely excited. I'm excited for what's to come with Heathens. I know that me, you, Johnny, and Jeffrey, you know, Zelo and Fluid, we got some projects going on. You know
Yeah.
that'll bring the organizations together, and
Yeah.
that'll help the organizations grow because I do believe it's necessary for organizations to work together to a certain extent, help one another grow. You know, I've always said DM me if you need a team in anything, and I know it. I'll hook you up. But at the end of the day, my farewell words for everybody listening, everybody watching is one: don't sleep on Heathens because I know they just reached 1K, but if you know me, followers don't mean shit. Because at the end of the day, it's what you're doing and what you're producing, and
Mhm.
Heathens is gonna change the game either within their content or within their apparel. Their esports is very strong, but stay close to the content and the apparel because I've seen their Instagram and goddamn, like I was jealous because I was like, shit, I didn't think about that. It was like one of those moments where they posted that meme and I was pissed that I didn't think about that meme because it's like, damn, like man, like my brain is missing some of these things, but that is definitely a good thing what you're doing on your Instagram. It's definitely great concept of, you know, black theme, white theme for your apparel. People definitely
Mhm.
need to stay tuned, and hopefully we get you a solid apparel designer and an apparel provider so that I could get some Heathens merch because I'm not trying to wait forever because I'm gonna lose interest and then I'm just gonna be mad at you.
I mean, that's dude. That's actually fucking gas ass words from you. Because I tell you and I tell Jeffrey all the time that like at least personally I look up to you because of what you've done with Carnage and who you are as an individual, like how you've been mentoring all of us. Um, yeah, there's that where we are and where we talk. It's definitely more of like out of the esport conversation. But when we do ask you, when we do um, ask for your advice, you provided the realest shit ever. Like like you break it down like, nah, that's stupid. Which in general, like it is, right? And we appreciate. I personally appreciate you for helping me out with a lot of things. Halo came close, and then they
We'll get
started
you.
switching up
We'll
on
get
us.
you another one.
But
Don't worry. There's endless
started
teams.
switching up on me. But hey, man, I appreciate you for your kind words, man. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like I said, you know, I see the value in Heathens, and this isn't me just trying to be one of those, you know, business owners that's just taking over organizations. I truly do see a value in Heathens. And, you know, like I saw a value early on Johnny, and I've worked with him, and, you know, people know Fluid, and I'm not trying to take credit, but people know Fluid from the hard work Johnny and I have been doing. You know,
Hmm.
and I've taken a I've taken some affection towards Heathens in the sense that I see a value in that organization, and whether, you know, Carnage lives on forever or it ends up coming to a point where one day we're not able to function, at least I know that I have a home with you and I can help you out as well. Same thing with Zelo. Like I see
Oh yeah,
potential there.
100%.
Wherever I see potential, I want to help out because I think I've said it in your podcast. If I'm at the top and there's nobody there with me, then what am I doing? But
Facts.
definitely, thank you for taking the time to join. I know we've gone
Yes, sir.
a little long, but I appreciate the time. And there should be another episode soon where it'll be you, Jeffrey, and Johnny, and we're gonna be doing some behind the scenes chat because definitely we got some exciting things to talk about and our everyday conversations. But
Yep.
thank you very much for your time and thanks everybody for listening, everybody for watching. And the KiiNgz Chat will be back next week with hopefully Zilo's owner or Johnny, depending which one I get. I'm trying to ego either of them, but we'll figure out which one happens first. But thank you. Anything you want to say closing it out?
Oh man, I mean, I appreciate those listening. With especially again to Ivan, I appreciate you for bringing me in, and for believing in the organization that I built for less than a year ago. And yeah, man, big things coming. The thing that we talked about with all four of us, I think that's gonna be groundbreaking for a lot of things. I don't think anyone has ever done it yet. So I think that's gonna be fucking awesome.
All right, man. Take care, and thank you for having me.